Virginia smoke. OVS, Old Virginia smoke.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the fourth episode of Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast. I'm your host, Luke Darnell. It really has been a lot of fun recording these interviews with my barbecue people, and one thing has been in common with all of them, and that barbecue is all about the people, which makes me very happy to introduce today's guest. Our fourth guest is one of my favorite people in the world, Joe Pearce from Slaps Barbecue. Joe has not only been a tremendous friend and a lot of fun to be around, but he's also been a mentor to me in a lot of ways. Co-owner of Slaps Barbecue in Kansas City, Joe has been featured on many different TV shows, including Barbecue Pitmasters. He's won more GCs than I can count and is a staple of Kansas City barbecue. So, without further ado, please join me in welcoming my friend, Joe Pearce. Hey, Joe, how are you?
What's up, Luke? How are you, buddy?
Not much. Thanks for coming on the show.
No problem. No problem. I'm excited to be here.
One of my favorite Joe Pearce stories is one of the first times that we hung out. It was at a Thursday night at the American Royal.
Okay.
That's traditionally a good night for you, isn't it?
It's usually the one night a year that I let my hair down and really swing to the fences as far as my inhibitions.
Right.
And morals.
We had a stunning dance-off at the Blues Hog party. That was fantastic. Some
That's
describe
true.
it as epic. Yeah.
Yeah, some would for sure.
That was a great time. But I mean,
It's good times.
there's 100 Joe Pearce stories that I could tell since we've known each other. So that's serving pork during a pandemic at the Big 12 tournament together, making tacos. That was fun too.
That was fun. We didn't quite know the extent of the situation in the United States of America yet, but might as well go out in style. Well, so if we didn't get Corona there, I was pretty sure we're not going to get it anywhere.
Why is everybody leaving? Would you like a taco?
Yeah, right. I'm pretty sure I cut these without gloves on.
It's just the concept. Funny. Yeah, that was the last real day before all of this hit.
The sun was shining.
Yeah.
It was gorgeous. We just got done shooting free throws or 3-pointers.
Three-pointers. Yeah, we were both better than Tim Shear. It's important.
We were very much better.
Let's jump into it. I'm going to ask this question. This is the third podcast that we've had, and the first two, Bill Gillespie from Smokin' Hogs and Bethany McAllister from 913. I didn't feel like this question was geared towards them specifically, but I think that when I came up with this question, I wrote it for you specifically.
Perfect.
And it's, how important is the art of psyching out your competition and psychological warfare during a barbecue competition? I
mean, it's real important. Like on a scale from 1 to 10, the smack talk or the lack of truth coming out of my mouth at a barbecue contest is usually pretty high. I'm always having a horrible cook. And the reality of it is, Luke, I actually am. I did something that I can exaggerate on. Like I probed one piece of chicken in a corner that was half the size of the rest of them, and it was 212 degrees. And so I overcooked all of my chicken. Like, it's horrible. The whole cook's room. When the reality is the rest of the, good pieces were probably perfectly cooked. But as far as anybody knows, worst chicken cook I've ever had, and I'm not going to do very good. And your food's so much better than mine. Like, it's not even funny. Like, you're going to win. That's how it starts. Or my brisket has no marbling. We start with those right away. It's super thin.
I just feel like you're an artist.
Thank you. Recently, what I've been doing is I've been telling everybody I don't care about team of the year. Like, oh no, I haven't even looked at the points. Where am I at? I am. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, gotcha. Maybe I'll cook next week. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to cook next week or not. We'll see what happens because, everybody this year in the top 10 really has a chance of probably winning team of the year. It's probably the first time that's happened in a while. And I like playing it off like I don't care when I'm really sitting behind the scenes calculating every point and what could happen in the next 3 weeks and figuring it all out.
Right. So you've gone full, like, it's not just competition wise with the psychological warfare. It's points chase full warfare. It's on.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, for sure. This is probably the only year that I'm going to be remotely there for maybe a team of the year run. So I might as well take a full advantage of it.
You're doing it to me right now during the podcast.
Yeah, I'm probably never going to be in this spot again, Luke. I'm just here to help the team, and good Lord willing, we'll pull out a W. What's your name, Renee? No, yeah, that's a great name.
Speaking of the team, how do you go about setting goals for your team each year? Do you do that, or is it just? I think I know the answer to this question, but I've always wanted to ask you that.
I actually take extreme notes after every barbecue competition, and I take a pretty solid review at the end of the year about what I wanted to do. My goals have progressed every year that I've cooked. It first started as I wanted to be top 25 in brisket, just one category. I thought I was a pretty good brisket cook. I wasn't cooking a ton of contests, but I thought there was a chance I could be top 25 in brisket. And then it was like, oh man, it'd be cool to be top 25 in every category. Then it was, of course, winning every contest that I want to win, like the Royal, get to the Jack, Sam's Club when it was around, and stuff like that. But I kind of look at what would benefit the restaurant the most, and trying to set goals that would make sure that I keep drawing business into slaps. And so, every year it's, hey, I want to finish top 10 in team of the year. I want to be top 10 in every category or close to. And then I want to kind of set a goal, like I'd love to win 4 contests or 5 contests or whatever that is. And that's a calculation based on how many I won the year before, if I even won any, based on, if I won 4 contests and 35 cooks, maybe I can do about the same thing this year. And so that'd be cool to do. But this year is really weird with, it's really hard to have goals. Really the goal this year was just to be able to compete in barbecue contests. And I just heard of a contest last week that I was going to cook that got canceled. So I get to drive to Casper, Wyoming now, which is a solid 14 hours from the house, and try to cook. So, really this year, it's just cook as many as you can before the year ends and try to string up some top 10 finishes and see what happens. I think anybody's kind of in the running that's got a couple wins under their belt this year. You could string a couple more together, and next thing you know, you could be right there, first or second place. So,
I mean, my goal is to actually have 10 contests to cook. That's what I'm looking for. So you mentioned a lot of things in there. What is your ultimate goal? What is your compelling vision for, in competition barbecue? What's the big thing?
It's real simple, Luke. It's total world domination. Slaps barbecue. Like I want to be like Global Dine, Globotech or something like giant on the side of every billboard. No, it's really just bringing customers into slaps. You know what I mean? It's everything I do in the competition world is built around building a brand, having success in that brand, and getting people to come in and spend $20 a slab on some ribs or some burn ends. And so, we've done a pretty good job building that brand so far, but I think the next step is getting to the point where you can be, the Malcolm Reeds in the world that can sit in front of a computer, teach a little barbecue and collect a paycheck. But that's a little ways. He's got millions of followers. I have tens of thousands of followers. There's a very big difference there. But yeah, I think the goal is kind of just keep driving business to slaps and stay relevant in competition barbecue. That was kind of my big goal when we first started the restaurant, is I wanted to make sure that we weren't just a team that had a little bit of success in barbecue and then immediately opened a restaurant and then never did anything competition related again. So we've always had that idea of staying relevant in competition barbecue. And I think it's done it, and it's kept driving people to slap. So we'll keep doing it as long as people want me to.
Right. I've cooked beside you a couple of times, and you strike me as one of the most intuitive cooks out there on the circuit, in that you're not a timeline guy. You're this feels right, this needs more, this needs less. How do you relate to those gut feelings when you're cooking?
There's so many factors that go into this, Luke, and you know that from wind to humidity to elevation to barometric pressure to all that kind of stuff that you kind of take in as much as I would love to say that my brisket goes on at 4 a.m. and comes off at 9 a.m. every single week, it just doesn't. So it's really just putting a ton of time in behind a smoker and cooking more briskets than any other human being, or chicken or ribs or pork, and understanding your environment and your situation, and understanding that they're not all going to be the same, and don't expect them to be the same. And if you don't set the timeline that my brisket's supposed to be done at 9 or 9:15, then you never have to worry whether it's actually going to be done at that timeline or not. So I've had briskets come off at 8:30. I've had them come off at 10:30. You know what I mean? Just kind of depends on the size and the shape and where you're at and what's going on. But, we cook thousands upon thousands of briskets a year at the restaurant, and every single one of those are different. And when I was actually cooking as a pitmaster at the restaurant, it's just, that's experience that you can't teach. You know what I mean? That's stuff that you have to be in the middle of to understand that. Why did this one cook different? What was going on that day? What was happening with the weather? What was the smoker doing? What kind of wood did I have? All that kind of stuff. And just extreme amount of practice in doing that, I think, is where you start getting that gut feel from. That's similar to a race car driver understanding how their car handles. You know what I mean? They've driven it so much, they know exactly how to handle something when it breaks or goes awry. And I think, the top pitmasters in the country have that same ability.
So what has been the most surprising thing to come out of competition barbecue for you?
Oh, that's a tough question. I think it's a twofold question. Number one, I think the quick answer is being able to cook barbecue professionally and make a living off of it has been surprising. But I think more importantly, I've always been very independent in my life. My brother and I started our own mowing business in the trailer park we lived in. And we were always kind of doing stuff on our own and didn't really need other people, didn't have a crazy amount. I wasn't like the most popular kid in high school. You know what I mean? But I think the friends that you create in this world of competition barbecue are friends and people that you'll know a lifetime. I still remember my very first contest meeting Ryan Murphy with Dirt Road Barbecue, and that was 7 years ago. And I talk to that guy every week, if not more. You know what I mean? It's just how similar you find yourself to be with other people in the world for doing the same stuff. There's those types of relationships that I never would have thought that would have come about because of competition barbecue. But some of my best friends in the world are doing the exact same thing I'm doing. So it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. What's missing? What's different? What could we add to competition barbecue to make it better? Yeah,
that's a good question. As much as I would love to say I want spectators there, you know what I mean? It's such a hard sport or hard event to create kind of that live, in your face, live action kind of event. And so there's a part of me that wants to say, hey, I would love for this to be some side of the next golf tournament or NASCAR race or football game or soccer game or something like that, where if people here sitting there cheering us on, moving towards the finish line of getting all four meats cooked and turned in. I would love to see that. I just don't know how it's possible. I think, on a simpler scale of what I think barbecue is missing is consistency. I think I would love to see an organization pop up and make something fair and equal across the board. There's the FBA, there's the IBCA, there's KCBS, there's GBA, there's all these different sanctioning bodies that all do it a little different. And even within those organizations, I think sometimes some of the simple stuff gets lost. But I think to take that step of being, kind of a professional organization, we need those kind of standards to make sure that everybody's getting a fair shake week in and week out. So I think that's a little more political than I wanted to go, but I think it needs to be said. So
no, that was a great answer. You're obviously one of the most successful guys out there. What advice would you give to a smart young cook that's about to enter the real world of competition barbecue?
Don't do it, man.
Don't do it. Let me save you a bunch of money.
Yeah. I think that's probably the first thing I would say, actually, is involving money. Don't think that this world of competition barbecue is a way to get rich, because it's not, man. I hear teams every week talk about prize purses and, I'm not going there because I only have a 5K prize purse, or I'm going to drive to Georgia because they have a 40,000 prize purse. That's awesome. it's cool that when you can make a little money, but there's another way to be profitable from this. And it's like I said earlier, building a brand and creating a name and pushing product and figuring out how to live within your means, not by trying to collect a first place chicken check every week, because there's no possible way a team can sustain themselves by trying to win every week, unless you're the Tim Grants and the Matt Walkers in the world that went on such a and Brad Leinegers for that matter. But I would tell people, kind of, hey, reel in the reality of a little bit that hey, we're out here to try to get some feedback on if our food's actually good, and maybe get a trophy with a little bit of money on the side, and just focus on cooking the best absolute barbecue you can, and worry about money later. I don't even think I've looked at a prize purse at a contest in the last 3-4 years. I'm out there strictly to try to better myself by cooking better barbecue and cook against teams that I know that have great food, and try to be on their tables and try to make sure that everybody understands that I got the best food in the country. And if I go bankrupt because of that, that's on me.
Right.
But I'm not traveling the country trying to find that 20 or 30,000 prize purse at a barbecue contest, because the chances of hitting that is, probably like hitting the jackpot lottery. It's hard to do, man.
Yep. Well, speaking of money, the next question is one of my favorite, or next set of questions. What's one of the most worthwhile investments you've ever made in competition barbecue?
I would probably, man, twofold. I'm going to sound a little promoting here, but I'm going to answer it two ways, right? First off, I'll answer a piece of equipment. I would tell you my food got better when I bought a Cambro, like an actual Cambro, an insulated hot box, instead of wrapping stuff in towels and putting them in the igloo cooler that I had filled with ice full of beer, 2 hours before my brisket got done. I would say getting an actual Cambro was probably something that helped my consistency stay a little better. And the other thing was probably the best thing I spend money on in competition barbecue is the few classes that I've taken. My first class ever was Rod Gray's class, and that man has forgot more about barbecue than I'll ever learn. And he had just insights that I hadn't even thought of yet. It's that type of information that his attention to detail really started pushing me to be like, okay, I have to take this more seriously than I am. I have to take notes. I have to make sure every piece of chicken is the same size. I have to make sure every single slab of ribs is equal. I have to make sure my brisket's roughly the same way every week, so I can be consistent and cook well. And I think that that's probably a really solid investment. And it doesn't matter whose class it is. I would take a class based on what type of cooker you're cooking on. If you're cooking on cans, take a can class. If you're cooking on offset, find somebody teaching an offset class. But yeah, I would say those two. Like, I think a Cambro changed the way I cooked, made me super consistent, and then or helped me be super consistent. And then taking a class just to see what the guys out there that are being successful are doing. Changed the way I thought about barbecue for sure.
Yeah. Well, and those are both great things, but those are both sizable investments. Have you had a purchase of $100 or less that has positively impacted your barbecue life?
$100 or less. Oatmeal cream pies, they're a must at every barbecue contest. I think a case of those is $3.99. Great snacks, delicious. They never get old. You can eat them for years. On a serious note, though, gosh, man, that's a tough question, Luke. Obviously, I think everybody would say a thermometer. That's accurate.
Yeah, it's a good question. I put it in here for people that can just find that little, like my little thing, or those little yellow top Cambro spice shakers.
Yeah.
I think they're like $14.99, but you get such an even distribution of rub with those. I really like those a lot.
In Missouri, where I am, in the tri-state Missouri, Kansas, Iowa area, you could cook one day. Like yesterday in Kansas City was, 92 degrees. Today it's 54. Yeah, it's great because I'm a big guy and I don't like to sweat. So I've been walking around in a t-shirt and shorts all day. But, an insulated carrier for turn-ins, because you never know what the weather's going to do. And I know judges aren't supposed to judge on whether your food is hot or not, but I taste a bite of hot food compared to a bite of cold food, and you'll understand why we try to keep our food hot.
Yeah.
Understand why we try to be on full tables. Understand why we try to turn in early or try to turn in late, because we want our food to be hot and fresh, and that's when it's the best. I'm sure judges have eaten my food when it's cold, and I'm sure I've scored okay. But in a perfect world, I'd love my food to be how I taste it when I taste it, that the judge is going to get the same thing. So an insulated carrier is probably something that I would invest in instead of a towel or a blanket that it's wrapped up in. And I think the other thing is maybe a really solid injector, like a spit jack or a butcher's injector. Those are two products that you can really control how much injection's going into your meat, and really take notes about, okay, I put 12 ounces in my brisket this time, I put 4 ounces in my pork or whatever it is. Just really be able to accurately say how much you used, and take notes about that, and then compare them to how you scored and how you finished, and come up with a game plan on how much you're going to use every single time.
Yeah. So you mentioned Rod's class earlier. Who has impacted your life the most in competition barbecue, would you say?
This is tough.
Other than me.
Yeah, other than Luke. Gosh, man, I would say Rod. He's up there, man. Like, there's a lot of guys that fueled me to be better.
Mm-hmm.
Like a specific person that I lost to on Barbecue Pitmasters in the season finale. Like that drive from losing to that type of cook really put me into overdrive as far as never wanting that to happen again.
Yeah.
There's like seeing stuff like Tim Grant did when he won like 36 or 38 contests in 2 years. Seeing somebody that was able to do that really pushed me to try to be a better cook.
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody knew that was possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would be remiss to say the Donnie Teals of the world, who've literally cooked everything 4 or 5 times, has won everything that there is to win, and still be relevant in this world after cooking, for 20 or 30 years. That's pretty awesome. I love that guy.
Donnie Teal's a national treasure.
He is, man. He drove up to this contest this weekend just with his Jambo and cooked out of a tent. And, that guy's been cooking for 30 years. And yeah, you couldn't pay me to cook under a tent if I had the ability not to. So that guy just wanting to be out and cooking barbecue is an inspiration to everybody for sure.
That's great. Yeah, Donnie is a one of a kind. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So when you're having a problem, Joe, like, who do you turn to? Who do you call up? Who's going to help you? What's your counsel?
Besides the Ghostbusters?
Yeah.
Okay. So there is a text thread that's more infamous now. It's less infamous now than it was probably a few years ago. But there's several of some of the top cooks in the country on there, and nobody gets actual feedback. We'll ask a question, be like, hey, does this box look like a 8 to you, or what do you guys think of, did you hear about this going on in this contest? And most of it's, shut up, you're dumb, you're the worst cook ever. But then what happens is we all pick up the phone and we have a serious conversation about, no, I really struggled with chicken. What are you guys doing? So there's 4 or 5 guys, David Bethany McAllister from 913's on there, Brad's on there, Ryan with Dirt Road's on there, Chris and Tom from Hunka Burn and Rub. It all started as he was going to go to lunch on a Thursday or Friday, and it turned into be a text thread that never stops all day, every day, from sun up to sundown. Yeah. And but those guys are invaluable, and that's the fun part about competition barbecue, man. Nobody's really that secretive. You know what I mean? If I have a team come up to me and they say, gosh, man, I've been trying so hard in chicken and I can't figure out what's going on. I mean, I'm willing to help. You know what I mean? I might not give you right down the exact recipe and timeline that I'm doing, but I'm going to give you like, hey, this is what I'm using for injection. This is how long I'm doing it. Try that. Kind of, if I have a serious problem, I'll probably call, the Brad Leinegers first, maybe the Luke Darnell second, and kind of just get some insight on what's going on, if this is still working, if they're doing something else. And for the most part, everybody's pretty cool about it. I think, most recently Matt Walker with Boomerang, he had 2 years that was just unheard of in competition barbecue. Had last year, 2019, won everything. Literally, he won everything. He won team of the year in chicken, ribs, pork, brisket, and overall. I mean, it's just never been done before. And this year, in this craziness, Corona was struggling. He'd win a contest, and then he'd finish outside the top 10. Have a top 3, then he'd finish outside the top 10. And he's such a good cook that he switched cookers in the middle of this year, started cooking on cans, and then he freaking won last weekend.
Wow.
Like never cooked on, like 3 or 4, maybe 3 cooks on cans at competitions. You know what I mean? And sometimes it just takes getting out of your own head a little bit and switching stuff up and knowing that you're a good cook and you can turn good food in on no matter what you're cooking on. And I think about what he did and just, I said, that's crazy. That's, to switch cookers in the middle of a year after you've won 2 contests already and then go out and win another one of cookers that you've never cooked on before is freaking ridiculous, man. Like there's no way I could do that.
That's almost impossible to fathom. That's crazy.
It's nuts, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. So you and I share a lot of hobbies and things. I love oatmeal cream pies too.
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't, right? We're both golfers.
Yeah.
How has your life experience outside of barbecue prepared you to be such an amazing pitmaster?
Yeah, that's a long story. We'll try to say it quickly. I've always been kind of I'm not going to say a lone wolf. I've been a team sport kind of guy my entire life, but always very independent. And I was the guy in baseball that would hit soft toss by myself, and until I couldn't lift my arms anymore. And the same thing happened in golf. I would just practice so much my hands would bleed. I'd hit golf balls till midnight, where my mom would come out and say, "Hey, no drivers." You know what I mean? We can hear them 3 blocks away. I think when I got into my professional life as well, like I was the technical arts director at a church, and I had no experience there. So I literally spent all my time and effort learning the systems of tech, of sound, lights, media, audio engineering, recording, stage design, everything in between. Right. And I spent hours upon hours reading articles and learning and taking classes. And, so it was kind of that drive to always try to be the best that I could be at something. Right. Because there's some people that are okay with participation trophies and just being a part of something. And then there's people like me who literally will stoop for 4 hours on the way home when I think I had perfect chicken and I didn't score well. You know what I mean? Like, okay, what did I do wrong? That's why I take pictures of every box. That's why I take notes after every contest of what I thought about every turn. So I can go back and I said, spice lingered a little too long. Oh crap, maybe it was a little too spicy. Maybe I didn't see that in the moment. Maybe I need to back that off for next week. And so I think the attention to detail when it comes to being an athlete, and I'm a big guy. I know I'm not the athlete that I used to be, but I'm gonna use the word athlete very loosely in this situation. But from being an athlete to being competitive to trying to set an example to other people that I was doing, I think that a lot of that came from one of my high school teachers, one of my high school coaches in soccer and track. And his big term was, the one he told us all the time was, remember who you are and whose you are. And that there was a bigger purpose to what we were doing, and try to do everything you can to be the best, whether it's better than somebody else or just your personal best. And so having that drive, just trying to make sure that I don't get away from remembering that I know I'm not going to be the best at every single thing I do, but I could potentially have a better time than I did the last time, or be better than I was the last time out. And so I think that's kind of the drive that I've had my entire life that kind of has pushed me to being, fairly successful in the barbecue world. So
yeah. Oh, wow, that's a great answer. It's a great answer. Well, I want to end with just series of rapid fire questions.
Cool.
And some of these I'm so excited to hear your answers for.
Okay.
So what do you see about barbecue on social media that upsets or bothers you?
Oh God, that's not a quick rapid fire answer, Luke. I hate. I'm not going to use the word hate. I very much dislike when you see a box that's definitely not a 9, and you have people tell them they're 9s because they're not trying to hurt their feelings. That drives me absolutely bonkers.
Another trait that we share.
Yeah. I could go more into that, but I'll just leave that one right there.
That's good. So what is one, just one, and it can't be oatmeal cream pies. What is one of your favorite pre, during, or post-competition meals?
Ooh. During the competition, Friday morning breakfast, 2 eggs over easy, hash browns, bacon and sausage, preferably patties, and maybe 1 pancake. But that's really capping it off for a really horrible afternoon of being miserable if I ate all that. So,
Right.
but that's kind of my go-to breakfast on a Friday morning before we get into the contest. So
yeah, I'm also, you can't, why choose between bacon and sausage? That's just nonsense.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll argue to my death that sausage patties are better than sausage links. So
again, 100% agree. What is your favorite present that you like to give to people?
Is this coming from personal experience, or you just want me to answer honestly?
I want you to answer honestly.
Man, one of my gifts in life is giving gifts. I love giving gifts to people. Oh gosh, it's so tough. Ask the question one more time, and it's going to give me another second to think about it.
What is your favorite present that you like to give to people?
Yeah, okay. My favorite present I like to give to people is probably an Xbox. It only happened to a few people, and I might be talking to one of the guys that happened to. But I like to play video games with my friends, and sometimes they just randomly receive Xboxes in their mailbox. So
yes, Kim is very thankful that you did that.
I bet she is.
Here's a good one. What do you think are the biggest misconceptions about you?
That's a good question. I think people think I'm really cocky, like constantly. And sometimes I like playing that guy, like prideful, cocky Joe.
TV
But
Joe.
TV Joe, yeah, there you go. But the reality is, man, I'd give my shirt off the back to anybody who asked for it.
100%.
I know I'm not the bee's knees when it comes to the barbecue stuff or really any stuff. I tell people all the time I do a lot of things, mediocre. Like you ask me to juggle, I can get two rounds of juggling in before it falls, and everyone's like, "Oh, you're pretty good." No, I'm not. I did it twice. You know what I mean? Like there's better jugglers out there in the world, and the same thing happens with barbecue. But I know my place. I just part of that what you were talking about earlier, getting the psyche of the competition world, and I play into that a little bit. It's a bit of a personality, but at the end of the day, I'm confident. I'll tell you that, man. I've worked really hard at where I've gotten in my life, and my brother and I both have, and I'm not going to roll over by any means, but I'm not the cocky personality that has been shown on some TV shows. So,
if you could have a gigantic billboard with anything on it, getting that message out to millions, what would it be?
oh man,
I love this question.
yeah, it's good. It's like the question I like to ask during interviews, like how you celebrate diversity in the workplace. Like it's kind of like one of those questions. If you could put anything on a billboard, okay, I'm gonna quote. I believe it's President Truman when he said, "Speak softly and carry a big stick."
I love that quote.
Yeah,
That's a great one. And then
that is good.
Well, Joe, I want to thank you very much for being with me today and sharing this information. This was better than even I thought it was going to go, and I knew that this was going to be one of my favorite interviews ever. So,
well, good. I'm sorry the whole video stuff didn't work out, and you got to remember I live out in the boonies with very little cell phone service, but I'm glad we got through it. And Luke, I appreciate you thinking of me, and I love talking barbecue and love hanging out with you, man. So.
Yeah. Is there anybody that you'd like to, let people know how to find you, or any sponsors that you'd like to mention?
Sure. I mean, we'll start at the top and just go. You want to find out more about Slaps Barbecue? SlapsBarbecueKC.com. A slew of information on that website, good and bad. I couldn't be doing the competitions without some of my sponsors, and Prairie Fresh, Blues Hog, the Kansas City Barbecue Store, Cosmos, our friends at Snake River Farms. All those guys really help us out to to be able to do what I love week in and week out, and that's that, man. I think I nailed everybody. I'd like to thank my wife because I think she's in the other room. She's raising my child as I go out and cook barbecue competitions. But no, at the end of the day, we appreciate all the help, and if what I can do can draw a few more people into slaps, I'm doing something right.
That's right. And the food at Slaps is fantastic. I've eaten there several times now, but I had the great opportunity to take some West Virginia University broadcast personnel there, Tony Caridi and a couple of his friends, and they still swear that that's the best barbecue they've ever had. And
until something happens out there on the East Coast,
right?
Until maybe something happens out there. I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
You never know. Thank you for listening to Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast. Be sure to subscribe and like the podcast, rate the podcast, and share it out with all your friends. Also, be sure to check out the Old Virginia Smoke YouTube channel as well. We will have lots of new videos coming out in the near future. We will see you next week with American Royal champ Fred Robles from Rio Valley Meats. For companies interested in advertising, please contact Old Virginia Smoke directly via www.oldvirginiasmoke.com. Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast, is edited by Chris Sedanka. Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast, is a property of Old Virginia Smoke LLC. All rights reserved. Copyright 2020.
OVS, Old Virginia